The rain fell in heavy sheets, blanketing the world in a gray silence broken only by the steady clatter of droplets against the cracked windows of a rundown house at the edge of a forgotten town. Inside, a girl sat motionless on a threadbare couch, her delicate hands resting quietly in her lap, her clouded eyes fixed on nothing. Her name was Ilara, and she was blind. At 18, Ilara had learned that silence wasn't just the absence of sound, it was the sound of neglect, of loneliness, of a world that moved on without you. Her stepmother, Denise, never missed a chance to remind her of the burden she was. Since her father had passed away in a construction accident 3 years ago, Ilara had been treated like an unwanted stray, fed only enough to survive, locked away when visitors came, and spoken to with cold irritation. Ilara often wished the silence would swallow her whole. That night, though, was different. Ilara, Denise snapped. The girl lifted her head gently, startled not by the sound, but by the strange tightness in her stepmother's voice. It wasn't her usual irritation. It was laced with something colder, final. Yes. Ilara replied softly. Put on that blue dress in the closet. The one I told you to save for something special. Ilara's brows furrowed. Why? You're going out tonight. Her heart skipped a beat. Going out? That hadn't happened since the funeral. With you. No, Denise replied quickly. With someone important. Now get ready. Ilara's trembling fingers found the edge of the dress, the silk soft beneath her touch. Something inside her twisted. She didn't know why, but it felt wrong. Off. Still, she obeyed. Hours later, she sat in the back seat of a luxury car, her stepmother silent beside her. Ilara could sense the tension in Denise's breathing, the clenching of her purse straps. The car finally stopped, and Ilara was led into a mansion, grand, cold, and silent. Then her hand was placed into someone else's. A man's. His grip was firm, but not cruel. Warm, but distant. And then she heard Denise's voice. She's all yours, Mr. Cade. As agreed. Ilara's breath caught in her throat. What? She whispered. Denise didn't answer. She turned and left. The silence after the door shut was deafening. Cade Kingston, CEO of Kingston Global Industries, stood facing the blind girl he had just purchased. Yes, purchased. A deal done in secrecy. Denise had sold the girl to pay off gambling debts, never expecting the billionaire to accept. But Cade had his reasons. He had grown up with nothing but cruelty, lies, and the knowledge that everyone had a price. Even family. His heart had been closed off for years. And when Denise approached him, offering a girl raised in darkness like him, he didn't hesitate, not because he wanted her, but because something in him broke when he saw her file. Blind. Alone. Sold by her only family. Something in him had to protect her. Still, Ilara stood in the center of his marble foyer, shaking. Why am I here? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. He cleared his throat. Because I couldn't let someone else take you. Someone worse. But, you bought me, she said. He flinched. No. I saved you. You paid for me. Silence. I don't want anything from you, he finally said. This isn't what it seems. Ilara bit her lip, tears threatening. She didn't believe him. That night, he showed her to a room. It was bigger than the entire house she lived in. She touched the walls, the soft bedding, the warmth of the fireplace. But inside, she was freezing. She didn't sleep. Neither did Cade. The next morning, Cade found her curled on the couch in the study, headphones on, gently tapping her fingers to a song he couldn't hear. She looked peaceful, until he stepped closer. She teased. I'm sorry if I frightened you, he said gently. She shook her head. I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of what happens next. He sat across from her. I don't expect anything from you, Ilara. You can stay here. You're safe. She turned her clouded eyes toward the sound of his voice. Nothing comes for free. I'm not asking you for anything. She didn't believe him. And yet, days passed. No threats. No requests. No locks. She was allowed to walk the gardens with an assistant. He installed a piano in her room when he learned she once played by ear. He spoke little but listened much. And one evening, when she whispered, "I still don't understand why you did it," he finally answered. "Because once, someone saved me. And I failed them. I won't fail you." It was the first time she heard something break in his voice. And that night, the unthinkable happened. Ilara stood by the grand piano, fingers drifting over the keys. Cade watched from the doorway, emotion swimming in his chest. She turned to him. "Will you sit with me?" He did. She reached out, hesitant, trembling, and placed her hand over his. "I don't know what love feels like. But I know what safety feels like now. And maybe, that's a start." His heart, locked away behind decade. And a tear, just one, escaped down his cheek. For the first time in years, he felt something real. Ilara. The girl he didn't buy. The girl who was saving him. The days that followed blurred into soft mornings and quiet evenings. Ilara slowly found her way through the mansion, not with sight, but by memory. Her fingers traced the grooves in the walls, the scent of each hallway guiding her better than any map. Each day, she waited for the catch, for the moment Cade would change his tone, reveal some hidden deal, ask something of her. But it never came. Instead, she found a silent protector. Cade didn't hover, but he was always near, like a shadow without darkness. He never treated her like she was broken, never pitied her blindness. He spoke to her plainly, shared small things. The sound of rain on the glass. The taste of his favorite coffee. The time he tried to adopt a stray dog as a child and got bitten. Little pieces of him he offered without knowing. And in return, she gave him something no one else had in years, unfiltered truth. One night, while sitting beside the fireplace, she asked the question that had burned in her chest for weeks. "Why did you really take me in, Cade?" He hesitated, his hand clenching the side of his glass. "Because I saw myself in you," he said. "Because I couldn't stand the thought of what would happen if someone worse had taken you. Because I wanted to make one right choice in a lifetime full of wrong ones." She turned her head toward him. "What did they do to you?" His jaw tightened. "When I was 10, my father sold my sister. For money. I was told she was going to a better life. She never came back." Ilara's breath hitched. "I swore," he continued, voice trembling, "that if I ever had the power, I'd never let that happen again. To anyone." For a long while, silence hung between them like fog. Then she reached for his hand. "You saved me, Cade. But you also gave me something I never had, dignity. That's more than my own family ever gave." A pause. "I want to stay." And something in his chest broke open. Ilara began playing the piano again. Every morning, the halls echoed with soft melodies born from memory and emotion. She couldn't see the keys, but her soul guided her fingers. The staff in the house adored her. Cade's cold mansion had become a home, for both of them. But peace is fragile. And the past is cruel. One rainy afternoon, a car pulled up at the mansion gates. Denise. She was dressed in designer knockoffs and sunglasses, her face drawn with desperation. Cade met her at the door. "You have 2 seconds to leave," he said flatly. She smiled bitterly. "I want her back. She's not yours. She's my stepdaughter. I have rights." "You sold her," he growled. "Like a handbag." Denise stepped closer. "And you bought her. You think that makes you any better than me?" His hands clenched into fists. "I made sure she'd be safe," he said. "You made sure she'd suffer. I want money. Or I'll go to the press." Cade's eyes turned to steel. "Do it. Try me. I'll destroy you in court. And in public." She hesitated. She had thought he was just another rich man with secrets. She didn't expect a man who would burn the world down for the girl she threw away. That night, Ilara heard whispers. Tension. Her fingers brushed the edge of the study door. She didn't mean to overhear. But she caught enough. "You're not a burden, Ilara," Cade said, voice low but firm. "You're the only good thing I've ever had." Her throat tightened. She stepped inside. I heard her voice, she said. He turned. I don't want to leave, she whispered. You don't have to. I want to stay, not because I'm afraid, but because I feel something here. With you. Something warm. Cade stepped closer. Ilara. She reached out and found his chest, her fingers trembling over his heart. I may be blind, but I can see you more clearly than anyone ever has. And then, for the first time, he placed his hand over hers. They stood there in silence, hearts thudding like drums. Later that night, Cade made a call. Legal documents were drawn. He would become her legal guardian until she chose otherwise. No one would ever take her again. But Ilara had plans of her own. The next morning, she asked him something unexpected. Will you help me learn to live fully? I want to be more than just safe. I want to be strong. He looked at her in awe. You already are. They worked together, voice software, orientation training, even Braille programming tools. Cade introduced her to his tech team. What he didn't expect was for her to ask to learn coding. He remembered watching her fingers move across a Braille keyboard 6 weeks later, and she smiled with pride. I want to build something, she said. Maybe an app for people like me. And we'll fund it, he said. Together. And the unthinkable happened again. Love bloomed, not fast or flashy, but slow, steady, like the first rays of dawn after a long, cruel night. Cade wasn't a man used to warmth. But with Ilara, he smiled more. Laughed. Slept peacefully. She became his anchor. And Ilara? She no longer saw her blindness as a prison. She saw it as a gift, a way to understand people deeper than appearances, to love without conditions. Months passed. On the anniversary of the day she was sold, Cade took her hand and led her to the same grand hall where they'd first met. This was the worst night of your life, he said. Let me give it a new meaning. He knelt down. Not to rescue you. Not to save you. But because I love you. And I want to spend every day making sure you know how valued you are. Tears slipped from her eyes. I may not see you, she whispered, but I've never known anyone more clearly in my heart. And she said yes. Loudspeaker call to action, end of video. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We share real and emotional stories that show love can heal anything, even the deepest scars. Your support helps us reach more people with stories that inspire. Red Heart. It had been nearly a year since Ilara first stepped into Cade Kingston's mansion, frightened, unsure, and feeling like the world had discarded her. But the mansion was no longer a place of echoing silence. It was a home. And the man who once lived like an island, untouchable, cold, hardened, had become something else entirely. He was in love. Cade had proposed to Ilara in the very room where their story began. There were no grand cameras, no press releases, no expectations, just her hand in his, and the quiet pulse of something pure. She had said yes. Not because she was rescued. Not because she owed him anything. But because, in the silence of his presence, she had learned what it felt like to be seen, cherished, and empowered. But their journey wasn't without challenges. In the months following their engagement, the media caught wind of Cade's mysterious fiancée. Someone leaked her story, the blind girl sold by her stepmother. And like vultures, the tabloids swarmed. CEO marries orphaned blind girl, a charity or a scandal? Ilara Quinn, the girl who captured a billionaire's heart or his sympathy. The headline stung. Cade was furious. He had spent his whole life building a reputation of control, strength, and ruthlessness. But this was beyond control. He found Ilara on the piano bench one afternoon, her fingers still, her face turned downward. I don't belong in your world, she whispered. You are my world, he said softly, kneeling beside her. They don't know who you are. But they're going to define me anyway. Then let's define you first, Cade said. Let's tell the truth. Your way. That night, Cade set up a simple live stream from their home. No makeup. No PR team. Just him and Ilara. She spoke gently, but with quiet confidence. I'm not ashamed of being blind. I'm not ashamed of how I came into Cade's life. What I am is proud of how far I've come, of the man he is, and the life we've built together. I wasn't rescued. I was respected. And I'm not a victim. I'm a woman with dreams, skills, and love to give. The video went viral. Not because of the scandal, but because of the strength. People wrote in from around the world, women who had been abandoned, children who felt unseen, men who had shut off their hearts. They saw something in Ilara's story, hope. Her courage opened doors for others. A tech company reached out to her after hearing she was learning to code. With Cade's support, Ilara launched her own startup, a platform focused on accessible design for the visually impaired. She called it SEEUS. Because for the first time, she felt seen. And she wanted others to feel that too. The company gained traction quickly. Investors lined up not because she was a sympathy story, but because she was brilliant. Cade watched her at meetings, her voice steady, her mind sharp. Sometimes, he forgot she was blind, not because it didn't matter, but because it never limited her. Meanwhile, Denise, her stepmother, saw the rising power Ilara had become. She sent letters. Messages. Please. I'm your only family, she wrote. Ilara never responded. But one day, she took a deep breath and said, I want to face her. Once. Cade didn't like the idea. You don't owe her anything. I know. But I need to close that door. For me. They arranged the meeting at a neutral cafe. Ilara walked in without fear, her cane steady, her back straight. Cade waited nearby. Denise sat in the corner, trying to look composed. Her designer clothes were cheap replicas, and her nails were bitten down. Ilara, she said, trying to sound soft. You look different. I am different, Ilara replied, sitting across from her. Because you no longer have power over me. I didn't know it would end like this, Denise said. I was desperate. You were selfish, Ilara corrected. I raised you. You kept me. You never raised me. Silence. I forgive you, Ilara said finally. But that doesn't mean I want you in my life. Denise's face twisted. You think you're better than me now? No. But I am free. And I earned that freedom. Not from money. From healing. She stood. I hope one day, you find healing too. But it won't be through me. And with that, Ilara walked away. That night, Cade held her tightly as they stood on the balcony, overlooking the city. You're the bravest person I've ever known, he whispered. I wasn't always, she said. You've always been that girl. You just didn't have someone to tell you. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I want to start something new, she whispered. A foundation. 4 girls like me. 4 kids discarded, overlooked. You won't be starting it alone. And they did. The Ilara Foundation launched that spring. Blind children received tools, laptops with audio software, orientation programs. Abused women were given safe shelters and vocational support. And every program came with one motto. You are not what happened to you. You are what you rise to become. As the seasons passed, Cade and Ilara got married, not in a grand ballroom, but in a quiet garden. The air was filled with jasmine and sunlight. She wore a dress of soft white silk, her hair cascading like a halo. He stood waiting, not as a billionaire, not as a savior, but as a man in love. Their vows were simple. I found light in you, Cade said. When I thought my life was built of shadows. And she replied, I may not see the world like others do. But I've never seen anything as clearly as I see you. That night, under the stars, they danced, her head on his chest, his hand on her waist. No cameras. No tabloids. Just the rhythm of their hearts. Ilara never forgot the girl who once sat on a couch in the dark, wondering if she mattered. She kept her picture, blindfolded, silent, in her office as a reminder. Not of pain. But of how far she had come. And every time someone asked how she did it, she smiled and said, because someone believed in me. And then, I believed in myself. Loudspeaker final call to action. If Ilara's journey touched your heart, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this story. Every view helps us reach more people with powerful tales of love, strength, and redemption. You never know who might need this today. Yellow Heart. Would you like Chapter 4 to continue their story even further? Or shall I prepare the YouTube title, tags, description, and hashtags now? You said. The gentle hum of laughter filled the Kingston estate as sunlight spilled through the high windows. Ilara's fingers skimmed along the wall, the old habit now replaced with confident steps and a peaceful smile. She no longer walked uncertainly. This house wasn't a maze anymore. It was her sanctuary. It had been 3 years since Cade and Ilara married. In that time, she had blossomed into more than just a CEO's wife, she had become a visionary in her own right. With SEEUS thriving and the Ilara Foundation expanding across states, her name began to appear in tech summits and humanitarian awards. But fame was never her pursuit. Her real reward was hearing a little girl's voice say, "I want to be like you someday." Cade stood by her side through everything. He'd built empires, negotiated with world leaders, and run billion-dollar companies, but the most fulfilling part of his life was being her partner. Watching her speak to crowds with grace. Seeing how her blindness never dimmed her confidence. She taught him how to see again, how to feel again. But one afternoon, the peace they built trembled. Ilara had been feeling faint spells, dizzy moments she dismissed as overwork. But one morning, she collapsed during a virtual meeting. Cade rushed her to the hospital. As she lay in the hospital bed, her hand in his, she whispered, "Don't panic, Cade. I'm okay." But Cade wasn't okay. He'd faced financial crashes, lawsuits, corporate betrayal, but nothing had prepared him for the sight of Ilara lying helpless. Doctors ran tests. Hours passed. Finally, a soft-spoken physician entered the room. "There's no easy way to say this," he said. "Ilara has a rare neurological condition. It's not life-threatening, but it explains the dizziness. The good news is, with therapy and treatment, she can manage it." Cade clutched her hand tighter. "But," the doctor added, "we also noticed something else on the scans." Ilara turned toward the sound. The doctor paused. "There's a new treatment trial for your blindness.